on rights, he talks about the self of the human being right after the rights of God. Now, it is a very important discussion, and a discussion that, again, like I want to do last night, I didn't want to do last night. It's not a cliche discussion. It's one that's very relevant, and to my parents out there who have a little bit of older kids, 13, 15, 18, 21 or so, and even to us, our generation, I think this discussion is long overdue. And given the fact that we live in an era of self-love and self-care and self-esteem and courage and looking inside, and all these things that sometimes today's individual believes that Islam does not have a discussion on that. That's the dimension I want to take you in tonight. Because I see a lot of young individuals, older individuals, who simply are not convinced that they can do what the deen is asking them to do. Okay? So it's not a Sharia issue, it's not a God issue. Asad Bhai, I get all that. I understand God, I understand the laws of Allah. It's something that I can't bring myself to do. In the process now, they end up sort of, preemptively deflating their own spirits. And then they do what what's been referred to as confirmation bias. They have this defeatist attitude in their head when it comes to Islam, and every interaction or every event they have in their life is nothing but a confirmation of that defeatist bias they have in their head. So if they miss a Fajr, they convince themselves, see, I told you, you're not good for the deen. You can't even get up for Fajr. If you can't bring yourself to read one verse of the Quran a day, again, you confirm the bias that you're no good for the deen. It might be for you or for others, it's not good for you. It's all internal. The talk is internal. I tried to wear hijab, Asad Bhai, when I was 13. It didn't work. And I just, it's not for me. God's not for me. Islam's not for me. And everything we do is just to confirm the bias. If by chance I end up at some center for the Amal of Shabi Qadr and I'm there all night and it felt amazing, I felt like I elevated, that's a one-off. I don't even accept that. I say, oh, that was by chance, by mistake. I had a coffee, a nap, that's why I was awake. These are important discussions. On top of that, I think that we have a lot of trauma that even guys our generation, early 40s, late 30s, I don't think even realize how much we need to look inwards. And Islam invites you to look inwards, up and down the Quran, up and down our hadith. And I will try to navigate and travel through a very fine balance of self-worth and self-worship, right? A talk I always have. There's a very, very barik, very thin line between understanding yourself and worshiping yourself. And sometimes I think that because we're so afraid to worship ourselves, we don't even travel inside. Or we're told from day number one when we are a child, from the mimbar, from our parents, from the books, that look, if you want to be pious, destroy yourself. Destroy yourself. Trample yourself. You're nothing. You're zero. Right? Every accomplishment is not yours. Don't attach yourself to anything. Don't have pride. Don't celebrate your accomplishments. All that. After a while, that plays with you. You start to believe that I can't succeed at anything. I can barely get up for Fajr. I can't hold a job. I'm not a good father. My marriage isn't the best. It starts to trickle down. But in reality, the deen does not say that at all. And again, you will travel with me like you have in every night through the Quran. It's a God-centric discussion as everything else is. Let's start off with a very beautiful equation in the Quran. Sometimes Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us how to be like this, be like this, be like this. Sometimes in the Quran he says, don't be like this. For example, in the Quran it says, لا تكونوا كالذين نسوا الله فأنساهم أنفسهم. Very carefully. Don't be like those who have forgotten Allah to the point where He makes them forget about themselves. The connection between me knowing myself and forgetting myself is with knowing Allah and forgetting Allah. Remember the hadith from the Holy Prophet 2 nights ago. The idea that if we want to judge and measure the distance between me and God, we must measure God to me. Right? So there is a direct connection. If I don't find the self, I can't find God, I just can't get into God. We have to look inwards. And I've been asking all of you to be very selfish this Ashra. These are not discussions for anybody else, not to sit there and debate anybody else or to tell this person, that person. Let's talk to ourselves up here. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala now says flat out, وَلَقَدْ كَرَمْنَا بَنِي آدَمَ. I've honored you. I've honored you. I give you respect. وَحَمَّلْنَاهُمْ فِي الْبَرِّ وَالْبَحْرِ. I took you from the land to the sea. وَرَزَقْنَاهُمْ مِنَ الطَّيِّبَاتِ. I gave you risk from the tayyib, from those things that were pure. I elevated you. I made you sajid and masjood. You're the only creation I asked other creations to bow down to. How much more fadilat do you want? How much more pride do you want? Kafali izzan. Remember the hadith by Imam Ali. It's enough for my izzat and pride that I'm your abd. That's it. So yes, while Islam says don't worship yourself, it does not say to destroy yourself. It doesn't say to sit there and like don't forgive yourself, you're nothing, you're zero. And I think we're so scared, like I said, we preemptively do that. That's very dangerous. There's a lot of us, we have a lot of hidden anxiety, hidden trauma from when we were a child. We have to take that out. We have to now face that child inside of us. You look at the seerah of the Ahlul Bayt. Imam Ali alayhi salatu wassalam, Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. Up and down his life, when he found moments down, please understand this point very carefully. This is a crucial discussion. I spent 9 hours of my time with all of you, and you spent 9 hours of your time with me to get to this discussion. Up and down his life, whenever he could, he would remind people who he was. He would tell people about his knowledge. Stand in front of the ummah and say, what? Saluni, saluni. Ask me whatever you want. So long as I'm with you, ask me whatever you want. That's a man who has a lot of self-pride, a lot of self-confidence. To sit there and to claim that I have all the answers, ask me whatever you want, is a man who knows what he knows. If that's not enough, the moment the enemy would try to sit there and rattle his fear and confidence, he'd remind them, do you know who I am? So I remind you who I am? Every shaheed on the day of Ashura did one common thing. I arrive into the Maidan of Karbala doing what? Introducing themselves. I am who I am. I'm the son of this, I'm the son of this. The blood of this person runs through my veins. That's a shaheed at the age of 10, 12, 13, 24, 32, that's very proud of themselves. Tile Zainabiyya, Bibi Zainab, you'll hear the Messiah tomorrow on the day of Ashura, turning to Umar bin Saad, saying, did you forget this was Hussain ibn Ali? Imam Sajjad's khutbah, I'll give you 1,000 examples. Imam Sajjad's khutbah, read it up and down. He sits there in the enemy's courtyard telling him that just in case you don't know who I am, let me tell you who I am. I'm the son of Mina, I'm the son of Mecca. I'm the son of this, I'm the son of that. That's a person sitting there saying, I am. You would think, oh, this guy's, mashallah, full of himself. No, you would never think that. You think, wow, what a moment. He's so proud. Why don't we have that same prideness? Why don't we have that same pride inside of us? Now, at the flip side now, the same Imam Ali that would sit there and say, Saluni, Saluni, would sit there and say the likes of Harith in Khaybar or Amr ibn Abdawad in Khandak, that don't forget who I am. If you are this, I'm Ali. The same Ali now would cry on the Musalla at 3 o'clock in the morning. Would feed the orphans at 2 o'clock in the morning. Meaning what? He would balance it out. Just to make sure that there's no ego. Right? That's why Imam Sajjad, alayhi salatu wassalam, Allahumma salli ala. He says in a very profound irfanic statement, oh Allah, when somebody elevates me this much outside of me, lower me that much inside of me. while they were proud of who they were. I ask you, I challenge you, pick up khutbah number 2 in Nahj al-Balagha. Very beautiful khutbah, a long khutbah. In that khutbah, Amir al-Mu'mineen describes who Ali Muhammad are. And he flat out says, if it wasn't for us, the deen would have been bent on its back. He says it was Allah now who used us, the Ahlul Bayt, to fix the bend in the back of the deen. Allah used us to strengthen the limbs of the deen. We are the valleys of the ilm of Allah. We are this, we are that, we are this. That is a family, that is a man who's very proud of himself and his family. So we know right away there's nothing wrong with it, provided that you balance it out with worship. That's why I had that whole discussion on balance and justice a couple of nights ago. These are not by accident. These are well thought out lectures. All links of a chain. When the Holy Prophet says, Ya ilahi la takinni illa nafsi tarafata aynin abada, don't leave me at the disposal of myself for a blink of an eye. Meaning what? Don't leave me alone for a second. Yes, I'm proud of who I am. I will not be sold out. You can sit there and you can offer me money and government and women. I will never leave my mission. At the same time, I can't do it without you, God. But that pride is missing inside of us. The pride that we have for ourselves. Now, I'll travel through the Quran. Come to me, Surah Ma'idah, verse number 105. 5105. Let's open up your phones with me, please. 5105. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad, please. There's nice buzzwords nowadays, self-love, self-care, and those are fantastic things, absolutely. The Deen introduced all those things 1400 years ago. Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu alaykum anfusikum. Beautiful start. Oh, you who believe, look after yourselves. I love it. This is the verse that I love so much. This is self-love, self-care, look inside, self-forgiveness, all those things that we cannot bring ourselves to. God says, look after yourself. Alaykum, for you are yourselves, is a literal translation. For you are yourselves, meaning what? Look after yourself. You are your greatest commodity. Remember, after this world, you are with yourself. I am with myself. I'm driving from here to Vancouver, let's say, for example, a cross-nation drive, and my vehicle is the car. Now, I better know inside and out that car. The brakes, the oil, the gas, for example. If, God forbid, halfway through the drive, the car breaks down, my journey will be incomplete. And somebody will ask, didn't you know this clunker could not get past Manitoba, for example? Forget Vancouver. Had you done a little bit of research, you know this vehicle is not able to get to your destination. We are our own vehicle towards God. And if we don't understand our vehicle, our strengths, our weaknesses, our trauma, our triggers, all those things, our anxiety, our stress, then God forbid halfway through life, we say, you know what, forget it. I can't do the hijab. I can't do Islam. I'm denouncing my religion. I'm an atheist. And that's happening way too many times nowadays. The car is breaking down halfway down the journey. Because we're not looking inwards. 1,000 people to blame. And reality is, after this world, we can't blame anybody else. In the grave, it's a mulaqat with yourself. It's a mulaqat with me. As I described a couple of nights ago. Alaykum anfusikum. Look after yourself. Look inside. Study yourself. If you do that, la yudhurrukum man dhalla. The one who is now misguided can't touch you. Can't harm you. Why? إِذَا اهْتَدَيْتُمْ. Because you've been guided. Meaning knowing yourself, studying yourself becomes a force field against those who are coming now to infiltrate your path of spirituality. A lot of times I get the fact that, look, Asad bhai, I'm good, but then this person comes into my life, this family, for example, those friends, and they ruin everything for me. They pull me off the path. That's why one thing I always talk about to my young guys out there, choose your circle properly. Choose your friends properly. You show me your friends, I'll show you your future. And pages of hadith on who to choose, who not to choose, the effects of that. All kinds. There's all sorts of verses where the people of the hellfire will be asked, what brought you here? They'll say, if only lam attakhiz fulanan khalila, if only I didn't choose so-and-so as my friend, I wouldn't be at the gates of the hellfire today. That's dangerous. But once you have that circle of friends that are tight, remind you of God, you have good conversations, there's nothing better, Imam Ali says. One of the biggest blessings is you're surrounded by those who in their presence now, you're reminded of God. Alaykum anfusikum. What does that mean now? Now, let's understand that. Let's go a little bit deeper now. All right? And let's get into our wounds. What does it mean to look inwards? Self-care, self-love. The first thing we have to do is begin to forgive ourselves. That's the first thing. A lot of us now have convinced ourselves that because of what I did when I was 16, 15, 13, 18, that's me now. And we don't allow ourselves to change. We think, you know what? The mistakes of the past become the paving of my future. And there's not a person in this room that doesn't have skeletons in their closet. Not a person in this room. I'm not condoning it. I'm not saying, oh, that's okay, you're okay. But I'm saying to you is that if you want to believe in a merciful God and you want to now emulate those qualities, be merciful towards yourself. Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that I don't dedicate my du'as for only the ma'asumeen. Understand this point very carefully. It's not that you have to be ma'asum to pray to me. It's not like if someone comes to God and says, look, God, I sincerely apologize for my mistakes. He's not going to say, oh, your closet is packed. I mean, from 16 to 21, you were bad. You want to come to me? No, thank you. I can't, no time. The moment that you are sincere, you return back to God. I'll answer the call of anybody whenever they call me, provided they are sincere. We all, yeah, God's merciful, Allah, you know, also by Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, Rahman Rahim, Rahman Rahim, that's fine. And it's not about God's mercy. God says, I've forgiven you to the point where the sin never happened. Never happened. That's fine. The problem is that we haven't forgiven ourselves. So the example I gave 3 years ago is that we're driving the car, let's say, massive windshield and a small window to show me what's behind me. Right? It's a fraction of the size of the windshield. The car's telling you that, look, if you drive, look ahead of you. But we drive like this. You're bound to what? Make mistake after mistake after mistake. Hit the cat, hit the garbage can, hit the curb, hit the person, hit the bumps. And all you're doing is, oh, I hit that van, I hit that raccoon, I hit that. And all the things you hit before, you're saying, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, how could I? I'm sitting there in guilt and remorse, drowning in the fact that the mistake I made 15 years ago. Meanwhile, there's all sorts of stuff coming up ahead of you, this massive windshield that we are neglecting. Learn to forgive yourself, guys. And you're scared to forgive yourself, I know, because you might let your guard down. And remember always one thing. I remember telling my teacher, asking my teacher one thing, and he gave me a beautiful answer. I'll share that with you as well. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. He asked me, have you started doing tabligh? This was like in 2006. I said, no, I haven't, not yet. It's too early for me to start tabligh. Okay. He goes, when you start for tabligh, what is your biggest fear? I go, my biggest fear is shaitan. Right? I mean, this can easily inflate your ego. I'm very, very scared. I still am very scared of that. And he says to me a beautiful statement. He says, so long as you are conscious of shaitan, he won't affect you. The moment that you are conscious of the fact that I don't want to now, dip into that self-worship realm, I'm so scared of being egotistical, I'm so scared of being full of myself that I will not forgive myself because I'm afraid that might make my thing go down, my guard go down. The fact that you are conscious of it means it won't happen. So long as you're conscious of it. It's like you're driving down and someone texts you, cop on steals at the strawberry farm. Be careful. Great. It's a great service, by the way. Keep it up. You're driving down steals and you're bolting it and you see a strawberry farm. What do? You slow down. You look around for that cop. Where's that cop? Where's that cop? You're conscious of the cop. You're conscious of the cop, you won't get pulled over. If you're conscious of it, it'll avoid you. Don't be afraid to forgive yourself. My youth out there, don't be. You say, oh, Sabah, you have no idea, man. I've made major blunders. I'll say a statement. I say it all the time to myself up here. The biggest blunder we could make, the biggest sin we could make is convince myself that my sin is more powerful than His mercy. That is the greatest of sins. And I'm sorry to say, it's the biggest slap in God's face. Because if it's one thing He has said time and time again, Baba, I'm merciful. Baba, I'll forgive you. I have forgiven worse than you. I'll forgive worse than you in the future. Don't sabotage your future for the mistakes of the past. Learn from them. Don't repeat them, of course. That's the first thing. The second thing is we have to now tend to our wounds. What do I mean by that? Look, there are some of us in this audience. We have deep-rooted trauma from when we were younger. Understand this point very well. We do. Whether we like it or not, our elders will not, this idea of mental health and anxiety and stress and looking inwards just wasn't something that they did. I remember 10 years ago, we had a mental health seminar here, 10 years ago, here at Al-Mahdi. And there's a flyer that said mental health seminar at Al-Mahdi for a long time, for a long place. And we got some phone calls because the word mental really set everybody off. And the elders would say, what is this? He thought mental meant pagal, he's gone crazy. He's a little bit, mentally handicapped. This idea of mental health was foreign to them. And obviously, they never had an outlet for that. Picture your father asking his father in Karachi or Hyderabad at 16 that, Baba, I'm stressed out. Acha. I'll give you something to stress about. Come here. Oh, you have anxiety at 16, mashallah. Oh. And even if my elders felt it, there's no outlet, right? There was no sort of this idea that, okay, let's talk about it. What's keeping you up at night? I can't sleep, Baba. I can't eat, Baba. What, do you have a wife and kids? Do you have a mortgage? Do you have a job? All you're asked to do is eat, sleep, and study. That's it. And sometimes I feel like we're also, my generation, we're not quite there yet. But younger than us, it's a big deal. They're drowning in it. And they're drowning quietly in it. And by the way, a lot of us have the same issues. We just don't know where to go with it. Because there are a lot of us in this room and in that room and maybe outside in the grass that were told when they were younger, you'll amount to nothing. They were the overweight kid. They were the unathletic kid. They got picked last on a team, right? They had horrible pimples and big teeth. True story right here. Pimples and big teeth. Bugs Bunny, pizza face was my name. I'm okay now, but it was my name. And those things reside inside of you. And back then you're waiting for someone to acknowledge it. Someone to come and say, it's going to be okay. You're good. You're not ugly. You're not overweight. You can throw a ball very good. Every time you spoke out in the home, somebody quieted you. All these things are deep-rooted inside of me. And they come out when it comes to my job, when it comes to my worship, when it comes to everything else. I lose confidence. And I don't realize it's that small voice of that small 10-year-old kid telling you, of your own voice telling you, you'll amount to nothing. You're simply confirming the bias of when you were 10 years old. If my parents said that you'll amount to nothing, I'll show them what nothing is. Watch what I do. I'll fail everything. It's a big issue. And the problem is that we are scared to face it. If you were beat as a child growing up, that has an effect on you. I'm sorry. You can sit there and say, not so much. You'll be surprised. It comes out in different ways. Right? You deposited in the bank a couple of years ago, and interest comes up, and it comes out even more sometimes. So we have to go inside the wound. of an 8-year-old, a 7-year-old, a 9-year-old, and stop waiting for my parents to come to me, or some guy at school, some bully to come to me, or some guy that called me pizza face to come to me and say, look, I'm sorry that I called you, Bugs Bunny 20 years ago. Because we'll wait our whole life. It simply isn't going to happen. So instead, we have to talk to that 10-year-old inside of me and visit those wounds and visit those scabs, and sometimes take the bandage off and let the scab dry and disappear. Otherwise, we've convinced ourselves, I can't do this. It's not fun. It's easier to kind of brush it under the rug, right? But then you have moments where you explode and you have no idea why you explode. Your wife has no idea. Your mom has no idea. Your friends have no idea, right? And they are trigger words. You say something, think it's a joke, and the person now blows up. And for days, they won't talk to you. What happened, man? It was a joke. No. And not even they know what their trigger words are. And the Quran says sometimes what you don't like. وَعَسَىٰ أَن تَكْرَهُ شَيْئًا وَهُوَ خَيْرٌ لَكُمْ. وَعَسَىٰ أَن تُحِبُّوا شَيْئًا وَهُوَ شَرٌ لَكُمْ. Look at the psychology of the Quran. It could be that you don't like something. It's actually very good for you. It could be that you despise something. Sorry, it could be that you don't like something. Yeah, it's very good for you. It could be that you love something. It's very good. It's very bad for you. تَكْرُهُ وَهُوَ خَيْرٌ لَكُمْ. It could be that you don't like something. I don't like looking inwards. I don't want to go back and revisit my wounds when I'm 12 years old. Who likes that? No one likes that. But it's important to get it out. It's actually very good for you. It's important that we do that. Because if you don't do that, Imam Jafar as-Sadiq alayhi salatu wasalam says, and understand this hadith, any of you right now who may be victim to tyrannical behavior, oppressive behavior, from your family, from your siblings, from your parents, from your in-laws, from your cousins, from your friends, from your work guy, from your classmate, doesn't matter. This hadith is beautiful. He says, "Man hata alayhi nafsuhu, fala ta'man sharruhu." He says, for the one who has hanat, for the one who sees themselves as disgraceful, for the one who doesn't have self-confidence, for the one who knows in the heart of their hearts that they're not a good person, for the one who sees themselves as somebody who's not worthy of anything, you will not be protected from their evilness. What does that mean? Sometimes people blast us for no reason. There are people that nobody wants to be around. There are those individuals, the sixth Imam says, that when they open their mouth, people run for cover. There are those individuals now that no matter what happens, it could be the best of days, they'll somehow learn how to rain on your parade. On top of that, they'll always tell you what you do is never good enough, never good enough, never good enough. And you always think, what is their problem? What is their problem? How could you be so negative? So negative, Imam Sadiq says it's a reflection of the lack of self-knowledge inside of them. They know how they are. It's easier for me to blast you than blast myself. So not only is a lack of self-knowledge affecting you and your worship, it's affecting those around you. And sometimes the ones closest to you. Man hata ala nafsihi. The one who understands or has this knowledge that I know I'm not a good person. Because it's hard not to look inside. The right of yourself is to love yourself, forgive yourself. Know that Allah loves you, Allah forgives you. Know that you're worthy of this path. Know Allah has respected you and given you all sorts of things. If not anything else, He looks past your mistakes. And when you get to a point of self-respect, this is a beautiful hadith by Imam Ali alayhi salatu wasalam. Allahumma salli alayhi. I know these aren't easy discussions. This is not the Vava discussion. I understand that. I get it. But these are crucial discussions. I ask you guys my age, a little bit older, stop for a moment and think, do I have these wounds inside of me? Go back inside and talk to that 10-year-old and give him the words that you wanted your parents to give you or your friends to give you. and begin to heal. We need a lot of healing in this community, in our families. A lot of healing. We don't understand the wounds until something comes and rips that band-aid off. Hey, there's a scab here. He says, when you understand the idea of your self-respect, when you have qadr shinasi, Imam Ali says, you know your value, you know yourself, you're confident, you're proud, you have this idea, you know what, I messed up, but I won't do it again. You're like a boxer, right? The first round you get almost knocked down, you come back up, you say, look, you got me round one, I'll get you round two. No 5-round octagon UFC heavyweight match ever ends like this, that, you know, the first round is completely dominated by one boxer or one fighter, and the second round the towel goes in. No, absolutely not. The coach says, look, are you okay? Have some self-respect. Go back out and redeem yourself. Where's our self-respect? He says this, when you have that self-respect, oh, this is beautiful, guys. When you have that self-respect, you end up having a disdain for your desires. Understand the philosophy. There's elements inside of us, our shahwa, our desires, that are there solely now to pull us off the path. Our shahwa, our lust, our desires, meant to destroy us. They're inside of us. Now, why they're there, why can't Allah remove them, that's a different discussion. They're there. Those desires are there. And those desires, when acted upon, have ruined a lot of us. And some of us are still trying to climb back into the positive. Imam Ali says, when you have respect for yourself, you have disdain for your desires. Why? Because those desires now become beneath you. You see yourself as higher than your shahwa. Oh. So the moment that you're presented with shaitan, you think, look, man, shaitan, thank you very much. I'm too good for you. I'm too good for you. I'm not gonna sacrifice my maqam with Allah for a moment of 5 seconds, 15 minutes, one night of pleasure, 37 seconds of pleasure. No. It's beneath me. That's why when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala speaks to Nabi Musa alayhi salam, says, go back to Fir'aun. He says, when you speak to him, فَقُولَ لَهُ قَوْلًا لَيِّنًا. Talk to Fir'aun with a soft tongue, a soft tone. A naram lahja, you say in Urdu. Why? 2 reasons tafsir says. One of them is this idea, Fir'aun might come back to me if you have a soft lahja. That's number one. That's a whole different reason altogether, a beautiful reason. But number 2, and more importantly, he says, you are my ulul azam prophets. You're the top 5. You're on the podium. Top 5 prophet. It's not becoming of you to lower your tone to Fir'aun. Even in front of Fir'aun, it's not becoming of you either. You're a believer, you're a mu'min, you're a Shia, you're a lover of Imam Hussain, you're waiting for Imam Zamana. When the dhikr of Ali happens, your blood gets warm. Your mother taught you about the love of Sayyidah Fatima. That's who you are. When shaitan comes in front of you, you tell shaitan, you tell your shahwa, you tell your desire, I'm too good for you. Where are you and where am I? There's nothing wrong with that. That's not this idea, oh, that's khud parasti, that's self-worship. No, that's the pride the Ahlul Bayt want from us. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. While you think about that, let me call up Asan uncle, please, for a brief announcement. Please welcome with one loud salawat ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad, please.
Assalamu Alaikum, Mu'min and Mu'minat. Brothers and sons, most of you are like my sons and grandchildren. I'm here to request you to please help us in the Muharram Fund. We need your help to do this quality programs, and they cannot run without this support. So I'm here. I started that yesterday. I donated $500 yesterday. So I want to take some pledges from you guys too, so we can have some fundraising here, please, for the Muharram Fund. Alamdar, $1,000. Jazakallah. Brother Abbas Jafri, $1,000. Jazakallah.
Alamdar, 1,000. Abbas Jafri, 1,000.
Raza Jafri, 1,000.
Raza Jafri, 1,000. Keep up.
Salawat, please.
MashaAllah. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad.
I know you guys are like my sons, and you are raised in front of me, and I'm here I know that you guys can do that, but just a matter of starting it. Okay. Yeah, don't be shy. Just come and do it as fast. We're gonna do it fast.
Remember my hadith yesterday, guys. It'll help you in the hereafter.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Brother
Imran Butt.
$5,000.
Imran Butt, $5,000.
And they deserve a Nara Hadari.
Yeah. He's your nephew. That's why I saw him. Okay. It's party bazi up here.
Yeah, okay.
Ya Allah,
Okay,
please,
hold
those who are now,
Yes.
please, making some money, earning some money, invest in God, please.
Yeah. For the 1,000, say
MashaAllah,
salawat, please.
MashaAllah. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad.
Salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Yes, Mohammed. Okay. 3 more minutes and I'll be done. I promised him to 5 minutes, so 2 minutes gone already. So, is there anybody else can take a? Okay, brother, give his name. Okay, if you don't want to give your name, you can still come and donate there, please, and we will appreciate that.
Where can they donate us, Asanico?
On the front desk.
Desk, okay.
Okay, from the front desk or outside, and we will appreciate that. And this quality program runs with your financial support. So, Salam Salawat, I'm going to stop it there.
Thank you very much. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad. One more loud salawat ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad, please. And when you have that level of self-confidence, when you have that level when you are connected by God, then no sacrifice is too big. Every sacrifice on the day of Ashura that Imam Hussain did, as he built up to it, it seemed like he was getting closer and closer and closer to God. He knew what he wanted to do. He was confident in what he wanted to do. Didn't let the enemy swerve him. Didn't let the numbers swerve him. Wasn't concerned about the fact that I'm going to lose this one little battle in northern Iraq. I will win the entire mission. He had that confidence. And when you had that confidence, you sacrifice everything. Even your 6-month-old Ali Asghar. Some things don't make sense to me. I can maybe wrap my head around a 10-year-old, a 12-year-old, a 13-year-old giving their life. I can maybe wrap my head around somebody trying to behead a 13-year-old. Even that is difficult. But a 6-month-old infant, I can't wrap my head around. I still can't after all these years. How black must your heart be when you look at the face, that nurani, luminous face of Ali Asghar, who is dying of thirst now. Who's dying of thirst now. And I'll show you and I'll tell you the signs of dying of thirst. Who's dying of thirst now, and you quench his thirst with an arrow that you use on animals. How black must your heart be? How black can the heart of an insan get? And these were people who would recite now, of course, La ilaha illallah. That's the scary part. When all of the men of the army of Imam Hussain now had given their life, the Bani Hashim, the Ashab, there are 2 different versions I've seen of this. One version is the fact that he was told by Rabab, Maula, Ali Asghar is thirsty. He seems to be Beijan. He seems to be a little bit restless to me. Imam Hussain now enters that khayma, enters that tent, begins now to take him out to try to, and that's when the enemies, of course, had attacked. The second version that I saw is the fact that Imam Hussain now, and this again, understand this point. Everything Imam Hussain did on the day of Ashura was very calculated. Even asking Habib to come from Kufa was not because Hussain was begging for help. Hussain loved his friend so much, he was giving him a chance for shahadat. Understand that point. This is the moment now, even until his last breath, Imam says, I want to be a merciful Lord to you, a merciful Imam to you, a merciful guide to you. I want to give you a chance to fix yourself. Even tomorrow's Maqtal, there's a moment where shimmers on his chest and Hussain murmurs to him, Shimmer, was I a bad Mawla to you, Shimmer? Did I do something wrong to you, Shimmer? Meaning there's a moment now where maybe you can have a change of heart, Shimmer. Understand what you're about to do. He takes Ali Asghar and goes out to the Maidan of Karbala. Says, look, if you want to behead me and have my head, fine. But this 6-month-old Ali Asghar has done nothing to you. Ustad Tawakkul was my Darsi Akhlaq teacher in the Hausa. Ustad Tawakkul, may Allah give him a long life. He used to come every single Saturday in my Hausa and give us Darsi Akhlaq. The first year that I was in the Hausa was during Muharram. He came to our school, and it was during the first 10 days. So he read a little bit of Masaib for us, and he quoted one riwayat from the Maktal that broke my heart. I want to present that to all of you today. He says that the state and the halat of Ali Asghar when he entered the Maidan of Karbala was very unique. All of my new parents out there who have young kids at home, you know that a 6-month-old who is as thirsty as Ali Asghar should have been thirsty, there should have been a lot of wailing, a lot of crying, a lot of moving. His arms should have been moving. His legs should have been moving. Everybody would have heard the crying of Ali Asghar. But nowhere do we ever see any maqtal that as Hussain was bringing Ali Asghar into the Maidan of Karbala, he couldn't handle Ali Asghar. Ali Asghar was restless. And that's when Ustad Tawakkul now compares the idea of taking a fish out of water, he says. That when the fish comes out of water, it goes through 3 stages, he says. The first stage, he says, is that the fish goes from the stomach to the back, from the stomach to the back, all sorts of movement. When the fish understands that there may not be water coming, it stops moving. It moves its tail left, it moves its tail right, left, right, left, right. The last stage of the fish, when it has zero umid, that water is coming, it's restless. The mouth of the fish opens, the mouth of the fish closes. Hussain brings Ali Asghar out to the Maidan of Karbala. He's not moving, but his mouth is opening. His mouth is... If you think I will drink this water, you come and give the water yourself. You come and give your water yourself. But my 6-month-old is dying of thirst. He's dying of water. Come and give him yourself. At that moment now, there's chaos in Umar bin Saad's army. There's chaos. He sees that there's grown men now crying in their hands. He knows if this continues now, that there's going to be a revolution. And then he says to his best archer, Hurmala, quench the boy's thirst. Hurmala, quench the boy's thirst. When Hurmala was questioned by Mukhtar, that what did you do for Ali Asghar? He says, Mukhtar, I grabbed an arrow, has 3 prongs in it. I used that for massive animals. And my target was this small little neck. I didn't need that arrow, but I wanted to make sure that I hit my spot. The arrow hit Ali Asghar with such force, it entered in one side of the neck and came out the other. Imam Hussain has the body of Ali Asghar in his hands. That famous moment, he has no idea what to do with it. He was a father on the day of Ashura. He had a heart like you and I did. Now he has Ali Asghar. Rabab is waiting in the khayma. That my son is going to come quenched. My son is going to come quenched. Hussain now walks towards the khayma. How do I tell the mother of a 6-month-old? I took him for water. He came back like this. My mullah backed up again. My mullah went forward again 7 times, repeating, Inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un. And finally now, he lays down Ali Asghar. Rabab, come and help me bury Ali Asghar. I don't know how many of you can picture this idea of a parent, a father, and a mother holding one sword and digging a small grave inside of the Maidan of Karbala. There must have came a moment where they laid down Ali Asghar, and that moment where the dirt went back on top of Ali Asghar. Matam ya Hussain, ya Hussain, ya Hussain. Ya Hussain, Ya Hussain, Ya Hussain.
था ये बानों का बयां, किसको दूं अब लोरियां, ढूंढती फिरती है मादर, है मेरा असगर कहाँ। तेरा झूला जल गया ऐ मेरे तशना दहाँ। ढूंढती फिरती है मादर, है मेरा असगर कहाँ। खून भरा कुर्ता तेरा, हाय वो भी छिन गया। खून भरा कुर्ता तेरा, हाय वो भी छिन गया। अब जीऊं किसके सहारे, पास मेरे क्या रहा। जिंदगी है राएगा, उम्र भर हूँ नौखा। ढूंढती फिरती है मादर, है मेरा असगर कहाँ। हाय वो नाजुक गला, 3 दिन से खुश्क था। बढ़ के मौजे तीर ने वो इस कदर जख्मी किया। तर हुई मुँह से ज़बां, ले सके ना हिचकियाँ। ढूंढती फिरती है मादर, है मेरा असगर कहाँ। खाली झूला देख कर ऐ मेरे नूरे नज़र, आँख फरियादी है तेरी और रोता है जिगर। सो गए हो तुम कहाँ, चैन पाए कैसे माँ। ढूंढती फिरती है मादर, है मेरा असगर कहाँ। या हुसैन, या हुसैन,
Ya Hussein. अली असगर का जनाजा है, शबीर को पुरसा दो। अली असगर का जनाजा है, शबीर को पुरसा दो। अली असगर का जनाजा है, शबीर को पुरसा दो। अली असगर का जनाजा है, शबीर को पुरसा दो। अली असगर जनाजा है, शबीर को पुरसा दो। अली असगर का जनाजा है, ओ अली असगर का जनाजा है। अली असगर ख्वाहिश है सकीना की, ख्वाहिश है सकीना की, सुगरा को भी बुलवा दो। अली असगर का जनाजा है, शबीर को पुरसा दो। अली असगर
ख्वाहिश है सकीना की, ख्वाहिश है सकीना की, सुगरा को भी बुलवा दो, अली असगर का जनाजा। पूछा है सकीना ने बाबा से ये हसरत है, पूछा सकीना ने बाबा से ये हसरत है, मैयत पे मैं छिड़कूंगी, मैयत पे मैं छिड़कूंगी, एक जाम मुझे ला दो, अली असगर का जनाजा है, शबीर को पुरसा दो, अली असगर पुरसा दो, अली असगर का जनाजा है, अली असगर। असगर का गला जख्मी और माँ का जिगर छलनी, असगर का गला जख्मी और माँ का जिगर छलनी, कितने ही जनाजे हैं, कितने ही जनाजे हैं, हुर्मल को ये समझा दो, अली असगर का जनाजा है, शबीर को पुरसा दो, अली असगर का जनाजा है, अली असगर का जनाजा है, अली असगर। ख्वाहिश है सकीना की, ख्वाहिश है सकीना की, सुगरा को भी बुलवा दो, अली असगर का जनाजा। माँ कहती थी रो रो कर ये शाम गरीबा में, माँ कहती थी रो रो कर ये शाम गरीबा में, असगर है कहाँ रन में, असगर है कहाँ रन में, कोई मुझे बतला दो, अली असगर का जनाजा है, शबीर को बुरसा दो, अली असगर का जनाजा है, शबीर को बुरसा दो, अली ख्वाहिश है सकीना की, ख्वाहिश है सकीना की, सुगरा को भी बुलवा दो, अली असगर का तन्हा है खड़ा रन में कोई भी नहीं साथी, तन्हा है खड़ा रन में कोई भी नहीं साथी, शबीर बुलाते हैं, शबीर बुलाते हैं, रूठे हुए शहजादो, अली असगर जनाजा है, शबीर को बुरसा दो, अली असगर जनाजा है, तो अली असगर का जनाजा है, तो अली असगर का कितने ही जनाजे हैं, कितने ही जनाजे हैं, हुर्मल को ये समझा दो अली असगर का पूछा है सकीना ने बाबा से ये हसरत है, पूछा है सकीना ने बाबा से ये हसरत है, मैयत पे मैं छिड़कूंगी, मैयत पे मैं छिड़कूंगी, एक जाम मुझे ला दो अली असगर का जनाजा है, शबीर को बुरसा दो अली असगर का है, शबीर को बुरसा दो। ख्वाहिश है सकीना की, ख्वाहिश है सकीना की, सुगरा को भी बुलवा दो अली असगर का जो माँ कहती थी रो रो कर ये शाम गरीबा में, माँ कहती थी रो रो कर ये शाम गरीबा में, असगर है कहाँ रन में, असगर है कहाँ रन में, कोई मुझे बतला दो अली असगर का जनाजा है, शबीर को बुरसा दो अली असगर का जनाजा है, शबीर को बुरसा दो अली असगर का जनाजा है, शबीर को बुरसा दो। या हुसैन 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 या अस्सलामु अलैका या अबा अब्दुल्लाह, अस्सलामु अलैका या इब्न रसूलिल्लाह, अस्सलामु अलैका या इब्न अमीरुल मोमिनीन व इब्न सय्यिदुल सय्यिद, अस्सलामु अलैका या इब्न फातिमा ज़हरा सय्यदतुन निसाइल आलमीन, अस्सलामु अलैकुम व रहमतुल्लाहि व बरकातुहू, अस्सलामु अलैका या मौला या गरीब गुरबा, अस्सलामु अलैका या मुईन ज़ुअफ़ा वल फ़ुक़रा, अस्सुल्तान अबुल हसन या अली इब्न मूसा रिदा, कुन शफ़ीअना व शफ़ीअ वालिदैन फ़ी यौमिल जज़ा, अस्सलामु अलैकुम व रहमतुल्लाहि व बरकातुहू, अस्सलामु अलैका या मौला या साहिबुल असर वज़ ज़मान, अस्सलामु अलैका या शरीकल क़ुरआन, अस्सलामु अलैका या इमामना व इमामुल इंस वल जान, अज्जलल्लाहु तआला फ़रजक व सहलल्लाहु तआला मख़रजक व ज़ुहूरक, अस्सलामु अलैकुम व रहमतुल्लाहि व बरकातुहू।
Assalamu alaikum, Amin. Once again, I just, one of the youth suggested me that I I asked you people, I need 35 people to donate $500 each. So please, if you can come forward and donate $500 right now, so we can have met the budget for Muharram. Jazakallah. Can you please help me come outside, and then it's namaz time now, so we're not going to delay that anymore. Thank you.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان اللعين الرجيم سبحان الله والحمد لله ولا إله إلا الله والله أكبر إن الله وملائكته يصلون على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمد رسول الله أشهد أن محمد رسول الله أشهد أن أمير المؤمنين وإمام المتقين وليا ولي الله أشهد أن أمير المؤمنين وإمام المتقين عليا حجة الله حي على الصلاة حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح حي على الفلاح حي على خير الأمل حي على خير الأمل الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله لا إله إلا الله إن الله وملائكته يصلون على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان اللعين الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الله أكبر الله أكبر أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمد رسول الله اللهم صل أشهد أن محمد رسول الله اللهم صل أشهد أن مولانا أمير المؤمنين عليا ولي الله أشهد أن مولانا أمير المؤمنين وأولاده المعصومين حجج الله حي على الصلاة حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح حي على الفلاح حي على خير العمل حي على خير العمل قد قامت الصلاة وقد قامت الصلاة الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله استغفر الله الله أكبر بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. إنا أنزلناه في ليلة القدر وما أدراك ما ليلة القدر. ليلة القدر خير من ألف شهر. تنزل الملائكة والروح فيها بإذن ربهم من كل أمر. سلام هي حتى مطلع الفجر. الله أكبر. سبحان ربي العظيم وبحمده. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد وعجل فرجهم. سمع الله لمن حمد. الله أكبر. سبحان الله سبحان ربي العالى وبحمده. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. الله أكبر. استغفر الله ربي وأتوب إليه. الله أكبر. سبحان ربي العالى وبحمده. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. الله أكبر. حول الله وقوته يقوم ويقعد. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. قل هو الله أحد الله الصمد لم يلد ولم يولد ولم يكن له كفوا أحد. الله أكبر. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار. ربنا اغفر لي ولوالدي وللمؤمنين يوم يقوم الحساب. رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي. اللهم صل على مولانا صاحب الزمان وعجل فرجه الشريف. اللهم لعن قتلة الحسين وأولاده وأصحابه. الله أكبر. سبحان الله سبحان ربي العظيم وبحمده. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. سمع الله لمن حمده. الله أكبر. سبحان الله سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. الله أكبر. استغفر الله ربي وأتوب إليه. الله أكبر. سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. الله أكبر. الحمد لله. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد وتقبل شفاعته وارفع درجته بحول الله وقوته. سبحان الله والحمد لله والله. سبحان الله والحمد لله والله. سبحان الله والحمد لله والله. الله أكبر. سبحان الله سبحان ربي العظيم وبحمده. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد وعجل فرجهم. سمع الله لمن حمده. الله أكبر. سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد وعجل فرجهم. الله أكبر. استغفر الله ربي وأتوب إليه. الله أكبر. سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. يا لطيف ارحم عبدك الضعيف. يا ولي العافية نسألك العافية عافية الدنيا والآخرة. الله أكبر. الحمد لله. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. السلام عليك أيها النبي ورحمة الله وبركاته. السلام علينا وعلى عباد الله الصالحين. अस्सलामु अलैकुम व रहमतुल्लाहि व बरकातुहू। अल्लाहु अकबर, अल्लाहु अकबर, अल्लाह। ला इलाहा इल्लल्लाह, ला इलाहा इल्लल्लाह, ला इलाहा इल्लल्लाह। अल्लाहुम्मा सल्लि अला मुहम्मद व आलि मुहम्मद। अल्लाहुम्मा सल्लि